Why, hello there, good old crackbook. How's our good old sunny evening here in Portsmouth as the director of Step Up Britain? And we're bringing Portsmouth and Hampshire Police and Isle of Wight, the whole of the UK, to court for state kidnapping. Why are we bringing them to court for state kidnapping? Because these people are meant to be dealing with criminal matters, and unfortunately they're involved in mental health, childcare issues, disputes, civil actions, and they go above their pay scale, believing that they are here for more than criminal activities, to protect the Crown. To protect the Crown from being overturned by the people. They are a militant army, policy makers, and they are here to protect the Crown, to protect the Queen, and we mere peasants, we mere mortals, we mere non-sovereign beings have to come under the jurisdiction of the policy makers who are a corporate company. They are a private company, and they are getting involved in matters that are not criminal. They are, however, leaving paedophilia. They are leaving the VIP paedophile circle that was shifted under the carpet under the blame of Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile was not merely one person, as you can see that I'm currently sitting here because I'm slightly antagonised by yet again. We don't have this middle line system that should be there for the care and duty of the people, being them alcoholism, be it drugs, be it the vulnerable adults here in Portsmouth. Okay? Now, when they're dealing with paedophiles, please leave the police to do what they need to do. But unfortunately, what they do is the Lord Superior comes along and says, hey, love, let's put that under the sink. And they cover it up. Why do they cover it up? Because to have a society of well-informed, educated people doesn't make profit. But to have a society of people who are dumbed down by an education system that is indoctrinated, that is, even the Bible is indoctrinated. I'm not going to get involved. He seems all right. I wouldn't want to get involved. That man could have been involved in absolutely anything for as far as I'm concerned. Yeah? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And this is where it becomes a private matter, doesn't it? But unfortunately, parents like me and many others are going into the secret courts where we are kidnapped by the state, detained under the acts of, we are merely mortally protecting people from crime, when the actual criminals, not Putin is not the criminal. Putin doesn't want NATO taking over the bloody world, mate. And it is being westernized, and there is being shots out on the media to make people believe in something that is not true. And I've had enough of it. I've had enough of people who have had a really rough time. They're a little bit at broke. They haven't got enough money coming in. Sometimes people thieve. Yes, we have to give them a slap on the wrist and face criminal charges. Unfortunately, in this world, people are raping. Police officer going out to meet a 13-year-old girl with a condom and lubricants. Police officers being released from prison and put opposite nurseries. Police officers that are walking into people's homes and pulling child protection in the name of their law to remove children from homes. Okay, they may be a bit broke. They might need a little bit of help on learning how to clean a toilet. There may even be some form of brokenness, some broken consciousness, some trauma from their childhood. But do you think that it takes big burly men that intimidate? Because first of all, there is a power balance immediately because they're armed. And us civilians are not. Police are killing women. In fact, one of our campaigners hasn't been found since being unlawfully detained and arrested. I served 27 hours in prison for campaigning David Cameron on his election night. And then police officers felt that they could come into a room 7 on me, mate. And do you know how I spent the rest of the time? On my head balanced. Now, when police want to get involved with actually really seriously cleaning up Portsmouth, and I mean going into the chief executive's office, I mean going into the judge's chambers. I'm an ex-escort who's done threesomes with some of the biggest judges in the UK. Do you know that? 2 of the biggest judges in the UK. Just to remind us that District Judge Andrew Shaw is currently retired, who's the police officer that took Aaron and Faith for forced adoption. The very same judge that was once a solicitor for Paul Burrows. We go back to Princess Diana. All things that get covered up. Why does it get covered up? Because these police officers only earn up to 40 grand a year, and they can achieve 60 grand a year if they've been in the services more than 7 years. At 20 grand. Now, these police officers have been here for a very long time tonight. I've done what I usually do. I've been down to the Civic Hall just to let the Chief Executive know that I'm still here. I'm still suing Portsmouth. I'm still taking it further. Now, I'm actually being really nice to these police officers at the moment because they're helping me with the fact that there is a smear campaign on me. They are causing little bits of problems. It does make me a little bit aggy, and it does make me a little bit defensive. Now, again, for the privacy of the male or female or child that may be before me with the police officers at the moment, because I'm all about privacy. But when somebody's on the side of the road being arrested and neighbours walk past, it defamates a person. The man may be completely innocent, but he's already been defamated to the public because he's surrounded by police officers. But these police officers walk away and they don't understand the consequences of their actions, knocking on a door, and what that does in such a culture. Now, there was actually the paedophile hunters here in Tipton House not long ago, a couple of months ago. My dog has probably found another fox. Now, let's hope that yet again, police officers are not meddling in other stuff. And if they are genuinely dealing with Jimmy Savile's friends, and that includes everything down to Epstein, everything down to Hugh Hefner, the sexualisation of all of our children, the LGBT that is sexualising our children, police officers and transgenders that are allowed to search and detain women, and all of these matters. I don't know what the person at the bus stop has done. But at the end of the day, there is no ambulance. Is he a bad man? Was he just slightly drunk and disorderly? Did the police feel like they just needed to come along and deal with an issue? Has he raped a child? He or she? We would never, ever, ever know. Are the trolls going to turn around and go, hey, look at Kellie, she's being aggy with the police again? I am being aggy with the police. Why? Because we need the bloody good police officers to start speaking out. We need the bloody good police officers to actually start stepping forward and saying, I don't need to go into my community in my drill ribbon boots and uniforms. I don't need to go and play football with the local kids in carrying a mace or a weapon or cuffs. They don't need the vests and the bulletproof stuff. But unfortunately, do these things go on? Are there crimes that go on within these neighbours? Do stabbings happening? Are children being raped? Are adults being raped? Within every single circle of one of these flats, somebody's getting a slap, somebody's taking drugs, somebody's drinking, somebody's got depression, somebody's got some form of what you would call trauma that is defined by mental health. In one of these blocks will be a paedophile, maybe 1, 2. Would you know that they are there? Yes, no. Who knows? And what would you do? If you had a paedophile living next to your door, what would you do? Would you allow your children to go out and play on the streets thinking that, hey, somebody could be looking through the window? Could you let your children run around aimlessly innocent just because they are children? Should we have to live in the confines of a society just because of what might happen and what might be? And do we actually need such solid police around in such a way when it's meant to be criminal? The police are used to me here. I've been dancing over at the thing. I've been up. I'm a little bit aggy at the moment. I'm a little bit aggy because I've got to go and walk into a court. The very same courts that I was detained in, the very same courts that my son was removed from the courts because of a Tango can when my barrister had been bringing in a Coke can every day of trial. But once I was in front of another judge, we moved over from District Judge Andrew Shaw over to Judge Moore, the Judge Moore who finally gagged me. Gagged me from what? Gagged me from being able to go to people and say, look, social services have got my kids, what do I do? But social services didn't have my kids, did they? Because they don't have the power to take the children. It was but a foster carer that actually had my child, the person who was actually making the money out of my children being there, because the mere social workers and councils only actually receive a certain side of commission. What did they get for Aaron and Faith to replace them for forced adoption? What, a mere £26,000? £26,000 that, wow, if that had been put in my hand, what a difference that would have made to our lives. Hey, we would have had a deposit for a house, the first couple of months of a bit of a mortgage. And yeah, even with the support that government do to somebody like me, things could have been great. But no, they don't do it like that, do they? Now, I will never, ever, ever know why that man, or I might do, I might read in the papers tomorrow that the police have handed, you know, some raging paedophile. But that man who's been sat at that bus stop for nearly 2-3 hours now has been completely defamated and discriminated by every single person that has driven past and seen 7 police officers stood there watching him, keeping him detained. And it's like, no, you've got to be quicker. If it's on the streets and you've got suspicion that somebody has caused an actual crime, then you've got to get them off the system, get them off the streets, get them into a private space. And it shouldn't be out here as careless and as thoughtless as they're being. But at the end of the day, these police, how many people, tell me seriously, how many people have rang the police because of somebody that's burgled your home and you've had to get a crime number for the insurance policy that you've been paying that has now gone up? And did they actually ever catch the criminal? How many people in prison are actually been innocent? I can tell you of 2 just on my social media here. In fact, 3 or 4 people that have been to prison innocent. And that's just in this space here. It's so fucking topsy-turvy. It's so upside down. We are living in a state, particularly here in the Western world, where we have been so softened, so downplayed. Look, the police leave me alone. They know my trauma. I'll write to them. They'll see what's coming. I speak to some of them on a regular basis. Some come from the outside city. But at the end of the day, they don't know their community. And they don't. And this is part of the problem. We're not living in a society. Someone said to me today, at ASDA today, he said, your country is so segregated. But then he said, you don't know how blessed you are to be born in your country. And I get this. It's a comparison to some of the other worlds and countries that are out there. And whatever may be going on between Russia and Ukraine, at the end of the day, these people are people. Children are children. It doesn't matter. We are all a human life. We are all a soul. We are all here to experience and live and love and learn. And it's like people are put in this prison here, this very same prison, the same doctrines, the same things that, you know, you're teaching your children false histories, you're teaching your children false religions, you're teaching your children you're teaching your children that rich people are bad, evil, vile criminals and poor people are humble people. Take Spider-Man, for instance, yeah? You know, all these Marvel films that everybody gets drummed into. And the evil one is the rich one. And with Spider-Man, it was the granddad, wasn't it? He was the humble uncle, humble uncle, and very, very, very poor. But on the other side, he was really rich and he was evil. And they brainwash you. And it's so difficult to come out of. And I know this personally because I've had to really, really work hard on where my belief systems come from, why I believe the way that I believe, where that came from, who told me that. Was it a book? Was it something that I read? Was it something that my parents believed and constantly said? Was it something that I overheard once by somebody else and took that as a concept of a belief of my own system? And we don't ever challenge this. We don't ever get to a point where we go, apart from lockdown, I think lockdown was probably the best opportunity for everybody to just take some time and go, hang on a minute. This is what it's like being on benefits, you know, with your furlough payments and you know, being able to be at home and chilling with your kids and feeling like it's an Easter and a Christmas all wrapped up in one. Quite nice only going over to the shop for some couple of bits and being at home, because what is the point of going to work every day of your life for a home for you to look at it and go, I don't even like where I live. I don't even want to be here. I don't even want to be part of this particular home area or whatever. It takes something bad to usually happen to somebody to sit there and reflect on where they are in their lives right now. Some people are trying to shut their pasts down so much and disconnect from where they've come from. Some people are closed down to the future, and some can't even live in the present moment. But we are our past and where we've come from, and we are our future, but we are our present moment. And it's so difficult for people to get their heads around. Say like the person on the website is no different than the social workers. They're writing about yesterday. Yesterday's been and gone. I can't change yesterday. I can only change what it means to me. I can't change whether good or bad things happen, but what I can say is I read a post tonight that really, really opened my eyes and really got me thinking about the battle of suicide. And whenever I get into this battle of suicide, it is always when I am facing somebody who is trying to say that I am something that I'm not. So watch this way, dude. And it's when I'm dealing with people who are opposing my integrity, people who are questioning my self-respect, people who are playing with what would be my grace, my self-respect, my character, who I am and why I believe what I believe. And when I can get really overwhelmed like that, I can go into suicidal battles. And those suicidal battles can take me to a place where I really feel like there is no way out other than me leaving this country, this world, basically. But when I was reading, let me just say this as well, and I've said it before, the thing that has always helped me with my suicide battles, since Aaron and Faith were taken. I wasn't like this before. This is because of them being taken. And I think it started after my first ever opposing. I think I was appealing, and I lost an appeal, and that was the day that I wanted to walk in front of the bus. But reading this quote, I'm reading what it was saying, and it was saying, you won't go to hell if you commit suicide. You won't go to hell, but you're going to have to come back and face the lesson again, because we don't get away from it. We don't get to miss a step. We don't get to say, I don't want to go off this cliff. We have to go. We have to make these experiences, and we have to face these things. And it just opened my eyes that I have to keep going and I have to keep moving forward. And the police and social workers are so trained by a book, so trained by a university handbook of people's thoughts and opinions that are based on psychologies and beliefs from over years ago, and that we're living in such oppressant times where the sexualization of children is only just starting to be talked about. But it has been going on for generations and generations and generations of years. In fact, it's probably never stopped. And it's only now that people are going, whoa, hang on a minute. We don't want our children having to be polluted by some of the music and things that go on. We don't want our children to be contaminated by a lot of the stuff that goes on. I mean, even sometimes my children are not always around when I'm living, by the way. I'm usually in another room or something like that. But even when I swear, you know, I'm very, very, very aware of how easy it is for children to pick up with the fact that even Elijah and Shiloh might occasionally go shoot. Now, I don't go shit in front of them. I say shoot. Yeah, and I am aware that they will pick that up. But we're not talking about the fact that people are being shoved in a box, to live in a box, to get up and go to work. Some people here, I would say, are living their purpose. They're in jobs working in surgery. They love what they do. Some people really enjoy the construction jobs that they've got. But most people don't. And even like the guy that's going to help me with his video, he's been working dead-end jobs his whole life, just shifting and changing jobs. but he got injured from a skateboarding accident. And it's like, I'd love to see him off over on a skateboard again, because I think he probably could. I think eventually, yeah, I think there would be a way of him doing that. There is. Oh, it's his carriage. And I just find it so sad that so many people are living in this imprisoned doctrine that if you don't finish school and you don't do well, you'll never amount to anything, you'll never be anything. And, you know, if you're this and you're this, you got, you know, let's use the police. And I feel for the police because people use the police. And I would say that the majority of police officers go into it with good intentions, just like most social workers get into it for good intentions. And they do. And they do. And apologies to the police officers if they're finding that they're dealing with a really difficult situation today and they were being quite nice and talking and trying to help somebody. But this is where the police are falling short, because it isn't their job to do that. And this is where this system is going wrong. It is trying to take away the responsibilities of the parents by creating a fragmented system that will never, ever, ever, ever meet the needs of a child or a family that only a family can meet. And that is no different than getting to an age where you may need care. And that care and responsibility is your children's, and it should be taught. Obviously, there is a level that people can't go to where there has to be specialised medical care, and that's fine and that's good, and this is where we need these systems. But we don't need these systems where people in the middle are getting absolutely collapsed because the top is helping the so-called bottom. The working class is nearly over. The working class is about to have the biggest fall of its life. And you are going to find that good men will turn to crime. And I'm telling you, good men. Good men that have worked hard for 15, 16, 17 years and are now finding that AI has replaced its job. I'm talking about good men that have put the meat and table and the food on the table of their families every fucking day, who are going to find themselves without a job. And once you have been to the lines of poverty, even I am so lucky and grateful that I know I'm being paid on Thursday. And I know that money's going in. So whatever this gap is in between, we can face it. But what if I didn't have that coming in? Just like many other people who are going to go from good 30, 40, 60, 70, 80, 90, even potentially £150,000 jobs. They're going to jump down to £1,700 a month. People on 150,000 are worried about going into their overdraft. People on 150,000 are struggling with feeling poor. We're struggling with the rising prices of bills. People on 150,000. 150,000. I literally live off £1,100 a month. 11. That's it. That's it. So all I'm saying is, we're not meant to live in the schedule of somebody else. We're meant to write our own time schedule. We're meant to know our own body clock and run with that. But we're so surrounded by belief systems that when we're in tune with ourselves, when we feel inspired to do something, this comes in to go, no, you don't want to do that. And people never give it a go. And I find it so sad. And I just think that the way that the system has been designed for the Queen, basically, to keep her in her throne so she can't be overthrown, the police are nothing more than street soldiers to keep things at bay. Look, they ain't bothered about the crack dealers and the drug dealers and the drug users and the paedophiles. All they're bothered is, can we get big enough and talk to each other to all turn around and go, hang on a minute, is this really the way we were meant to live our lives? Like, really? Really? Because once people start thinking for themselves, once people start questioning the narrative, once people start asking whether what you're reading in the papers is even really true, then these people are pretty fucked. What happens if we all did it? Anyway, I'm home. Everybody's asleep. Because Dean's here, I get to go in and out, so I love it. But I bet you he's found his way in my bed. And I've got to decide whether to sleep on the sofa.